Welcome back to the channel. Today we have something of a tech marvel on our hands, the Panasonic Lumix S5IIX. Now, I know some channels are ranting and raving about the black exterior. I don't really care about that. What I do care about is the 24.2 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor, which, by the way, gives really pleasing image quality. I do care that Panasonic was thoughtful enough to give enough space between the EVF and the rear LCD screen, so you're not smudging up your rear LCD every time you look through the viewfinder. I do also enjoy the fact that they've added dual IS2 image stabilization to this body, and the performance at 6.5 stops is actually really good. I would say, in a practical sense, it is best in class. Another standout feature of this camera is that Panasonic has stealthily probably created the best implementation of a built-in fan I've seen yet. See how small these ducts are? And they are immensely effective. This camera can literally run all day long, recording at its highest image qualities, and it does not overheat. Sony, are you listening? One thing I love about Panasonic as a brand is they don't hold back the video features in a hybrid mirrorless bodies. The shutter button will start video recording when you're in video mode, but they give you a backup, so when you're in photo mode, you have this little red button. You can also press that and at any time start video recording, so you do not miss a moment. And it's design cues like this that really sets Panasonic apart from most of the competition. I do know that some of the Canons do that. That is true, the R3 does, but it's nice to see it here as well. Now, when it comes to build quality, I think the Panasonic has really knocked it out of the park, especially considering the price point. So this camera, I would say, build quality wise, feels to me better than my Sony bodies. I mean, not hugely so, like comparing to a Leica or something, but there's definitely a solidity to this design, to this body, that makes you feel confident that it's going to go the distance. Now, there was an area where Panasonic has been lacking, and I think it's the elephant in the room, but in the room no more. The elephant has left, because finally, Panasonic has chosen to put a workable autofocus system in their mirrorless bodies in the form of phase hybrid autofocus with 779 phase detection points, ensuring a precision that has frankly never been seen before in any Panasonic mirrorless body. So finally, we can put that one to rest. Now, the handling of this camera I quite like. It is comfortable in the hand. We have the mode dial, which we're all so familiar with. And I like that when you switch to video mode, you're not switching to a whole new operating system. So when you go from photo to video, the switch is pretty much instantaneous. That is to say, there's no appreciable delay, which means you'll actually use it, because there's no penalty to using it. You can start shooting a photo and then instantly say, I want to capture some video. Let me switch the style over to video mode, and you're there with no fuss and no worries. Hello, Canon. Are you listening? So, having had this camera now for a couple of days, what are my impressions? I think it's pleasant to shoot with. We have the flip-out tilt screen, which, yeah, some people love, some people hate. Honestly, I do prefer the tilt flips. I think that's really an innovation. I think Panasonic started that, so I imagine that the S1H2 will probably have such a screen. And if it does, I'm really looking forward to that. I think that this camera is, in many ways, an indicator of what we can expect from an upcoming Panasonic flagship. And I think that that's really a positive thing. Now, what I'd love to see, of course, in a future camera is a stack sensor, or perhaps even a global shutter, although I think the latter is unlikely. I would also like to see this very discreet fan system that we're seeing inside these new Mark II S5 cameras, because I think that's way better than the chunky design that the S1H had, because I think with that design there was a weight penalty and a size penalty that was added to the camera. So my closing thoughts on the Panasonic S5IIX. I think that this camera is great to shoot with. I can see this being in my collection for a while to come, because honestly, this camera is very flexible and very easy to work with. If I had one complaint, it's probably the SD card door, which in my opinion does feel a bit plasticky. I'm not saying it's going to break, but it does feel a little less quality than the rest of the camera, if that's a polite way of saying it. But yeah, that's probably it. It's a small thing. I'm sure it will hold up, but again, I do wish it was a bit more solid feeling. It does actually close pretty securely, so maybe I'm just being, overly cautious when it comes to these things. But overall, the camera is a great feeling camera. And one of the nice things is they did, and everyone should do this, they did give us a full-size HDMI port, and it also can be powered from USB. And again, being a Panasonic, they've been thoughtful enough to include both a headphone jack and a microphone input. And why wouldn't they? And another nice thing, and they might have been one of the early adopters of this, the top hot shoe is a smart hot shoe. You can actually hook in a audio adapter, which I used to have. I sold it. I don't have it anymore. I may pick up another one. But you can get 4 channels of audio into this tiny little camera, so that's great. I know the Sonys do it as well, and now the Canons do. But Panasonic, I think, was one of on the forefront to add that technology. So hats off to them. All in all, this is a solid choice for anyone who wants a small, lightweight, mirrorless camera that they can just pack and go and take anywhere. And if you stick around, you can check out the footage that I have shot using this camera and post your comments below. Let me know what you think. And remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, and I'll catch you next time. This footage was shot during Blue Hour, and I'd set the camera up with electronic image stabilization, so the IBIS was on. I didn't get into the electronic stabilization, so you can do IBIS with electronic or IBIS with electronic and boost. I didn't utilize those 2 modes for these scenes. What I can tell you is that later on, you're going to see me playing with the dog, and with my girl, and we're playing with the dogs, and the footage is way more stable. That is actually utilizing the electronic with the IBIS. And I think that's probably at this point my go-to mode. The only time I was able to really make this look bad was when I actually got bumped, or when I was throwing the frisbee myself while filming, which is something you'd never normally do. Later on, at home, I managed to play with the boost mode, and I will tell you, people that say it looks like you're on a tripod, they are not lying. The boost mode really does look like it was shot on a tripod. It is extraordinarily good, and I will go one better than that. It is perhaps the best I have seen, not perhaps, let me rewind that. It is the best image stabilization I have seen in any mirrorless camera, by far. And why does that matter? Because if you're shooting your footage in scenes, like, you should be, then you don't ever need to carry a tripod.